Yes,
okay?
I work
But it's good to
in a
see you.
customer
Sorry I
success
was-
function.
Yo, yo.
Like,
Hey, y'all about to get started in a second. Everybody please have your seats. We're about to get started momentarily. Oh, it's time right now,
yeah.
Good evening, everybody. And welcome to the 15th Annual Alumni of Color Network ACN Panel. My name is Bobby Brito Oliveira, and I am co-chair of the ACN, along with our moderator this evening, Ms. Sarah Montero. Ms. Sarah Montero? Woo. That's my co-chair right there. Before we get started with this evening, I want to take a moment of silence to recognize a brother who could not be here this evening, a brother who was very instrumental in the foundational years of the Alumni of Color Network, as none other than Assistant Dean Earl Smith. So if y'all can just please bow your heads and show some homage to our brother. Thank y'all. So this is our second year back in person. We had to take a little pause because of the pandemic, but that's not going to stop us, right? So it's a pleasure to be back with you all, our guests, both our alumni and students alike, scholars alike, and our esteemed panelists. My journey at URI began in 2001 by way of talent development. Shout out to TD Nation.
Woo, woo.
You already know. And after earning my bachelor's degree in 2006, I later came back to URI and received my master's degree in 2011 and worked at the university in various capacities, initially as the coordinator for student diversity initiatives for the College of Environment and Life Sciences. Spent 8.5 years back home within my talent development family as an academic advisor. For the last 2 or so years, I've been serving as the assistant director for the Multicultural Student Service Center. And I say all that to say my history on this campus is long. And I'm deeply invested in you all, our scholars and our alumni of color alike. Throughout those years, I witnessed the growth of this panel. After joining ACN in 2009, I believe we started off in a small conference room, right, Michelle? And somewhere in athletics, no more than 30 or so people in the room. We then graduated up to Galante Lounge in the library, 3rd floor of the library. And since then, we've been able to utilize this space in the ballroom. And while we're still growing back to who we were and what we were pre-pandemic, it's great to see you all here in the ACN and continuing on with our growth. So at this time, I want to thank some of our leadership at URI and some of our other esteemed staff and faculty who are here with us this evening. Please forgive me if I miss anybody, but I will start off with President and Mary Palange. Thank you all for coming. Lil Rook, President of URI's Foundation Alumni Engagement. Dr. Jackie A. Springer, Assistant Dean of Students. Ashton Branford, Assistant Dean of Jedi Initiatives for the College of Health Sciences.
Ooh, Sean.
Brother Chuck Watson, Assistant Dean of the College of Engineering.
Yeah, Chuck.
Fajardo Grandridge, Interim Assistant Dean of Diversity, Recruitment, and Retention for the College of Environment and Life Sciences. Camilla Avant, Assistant Dean of Jedi Initiatives for the College of Arts and Sciences.
Woo.
Christina Moyet, Associate Director of Academic Programming and Assessment for Talent Development. Dr. Emmett Goods of Africana Studies. Dr. Catherine John of Africana Studies. Sister Shirley Consuegra of Early Alert.
Woo, Shirley.
In the CED leadership team, and Dr. Sean Rogers and Michelle Fonz.
Whoa.
Soon y'all will hear from our distinguished and successful alumni panelists, but at this time I want to acknowledge our alumni of color who are in the audience. So if you are an alum of color of this university, please stand up so our students can recognize who you are and see them in yourself.
Woo.
So y'all saw that our current scholars, they are here for us, they are here for you, they are a resource and a tremendous asset to the university community. So please take advantage of them. During my time as an undergrad, we didn't have an ACN. The ACN was created in 2007, and I graduated in 2006. I was, however, able to find pockets of people to assist me. Obviously, I had my talent development team, that foundation, but outside of that, my options were very little as far as other folk of color who I can rely on campus. There was, of course, the Dr. Cynthia Hamiltons of Africana Studies, Dr. Peniel Joseph of Africana Studies, Dr. Ray Ferguson of Africana Studies, and a select few others. But you all, current students, you all have a network of people who are willing to come back and give back, and a lot of us are here today. So please utilize this network. We're much stronger in numbers with you all, and to our future alumni, please be sure to join the ACN when it's your turn. At this time, I want to acknowledge our URI's 12th president, President Palange, with some opening comments. Since his start at the university, President Palange has been an avid supporter of the ACN. We're honored to have him here in attendance. So without further ado, President Palange.
Thank you, Bobby. Thanks, Bobby. It's so good to see all of you here this evening, and I'd like to begin, as we always do, by acknowledging that we are here on the ancestral and traditional stomping grounds of the Narragansett Nation. I'd also just like to say that I heard that this event was fantastic last year, so I want to acknowledge that I've also joined by our provost, Barbara Wolf, and our dean of the graduate school, Brenton DeBuff, and I don't actually see very far without my glasses. So in the back, so lovely to have both of you also here joining this evening. We're really proud of all of you. I have to say, I actually first met you all at a football game. I have to say, I really like tailgating at URI football games, but it was really important. I just want to maybe highlight a few things that are going on in the state of Rhode Island and at the University of Rhode Island. So as you all know, we are Rhode Island's university, and we are extremely important in terms of the future of the state and opportunities, and obviously in education and research, we are critical investment, I think, for the future of Rhode Island. And we had a very nice day at the State House this week, so it was Rhody Blue. And we were able to highlight a lot of activities that we're doing, from capstone design and engineering to work that we're doing in nursing to work that we're doing in education. We had lots of clubs, lots of sport teams, a lot of athletes, coaches, trainers, friends, alums. We had Watershed Watch that where we're working with more than 400 volunteers. Not only are we monitoring rivers, lakes, and streams in Rhode Island, but we're actually invading slowly Massachusetts and New York. So we're taking over New England. We are having, a lot of good research that's going on, for example, with PFAS, and so we have a large NIEHS project with Professor Ryder Lohman and many colleagues there. But one thing that was very important was to really highlight, and many of you were there to speak about it, so thank you, about the talent development program. And it's interesting, it's such an important program. We are so proud. From the beginning, when Mary and I arrived, we've had many students and alumni, I should say, come up and tell me with great pride that they were graduates of the University of Rhode Island. And of course, every day I work very closely with one TD graduate, Carlos Lopez, who was a student in political science here. I'll spare you all the good statistics, but let's just say that we have systematically increased the amount of aid that we support. It's more than 13 million this year towards talent development. As a reminder, more than 82% of our students are first generation. And so I'm really proud of all our scholars and alumni, and some you will hear from this evening. So this is really changing lives. We've just completed our 10-year strategic plan, and one of the key aspects is really around building community. And central to this reimagining was our Community Equity Diversity Office. And I'm really pleased that we were able to appoint Sean Rogers as the inaugural Vice President of Community Equity and Diversity, and Michelle Fonts as the AVP, and they have done a great job. We have also been able to embed in each college and school, champions, diversity officers, and in the athletic department. So we have a number of colleagues there. Sean and Michelle have done a great job. They've been really working closely with our music students, with the MSCC, and they're just active and engaged in many, many facets. I also want to say that I had a great dinner. I know some of you are out there again, but the Seeds of Success students who are just so passionate and doing great things here, and it was a delight to have dinner with you. And I will answer your email. I'm just usually about 24 hours behind on my email. But thank you. There's really good undergraduate opportunities. I know, Michelle, you were critical to getting the Mark U Star program going, but that's just supported by the NIH and really just offers the opportunity for students who are getting their bachelor's to go on and do PhD or MD PhD degrees in biomedical research fields. So that's a big part of elevating our research impact at the university. I just want to quickly thank all the voters from Rhode Island who helped also support our $100 million bond for the Narragansett Bay campus. That's going to be a big push going forward. We are the ocean state, and going forward, we really want to grow that Bay campus so that it's really the center for the blue economy. And it's really also an opportunity for our students to be able to experience the ocean. And so even if someone grew up in Rhode Island, often they may not have spent that much time on the water. And I just wanted to give mention Brad Weatherby, who's a professor, and he's made just a huge difference in the lives of so many students. He runs the Shark Camp, which is gives many students in K through 12 an opportunity to go out and study sharks with him. There's so many more things I would like to say, but I just want to say again, Bobby, thank you for organizing this evening. Thank you for the invitation. And I'm looking forward to the panelists. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you, President Palange. For those who don't know, last year, President Palange made a generous gift, a matching gift of $25,000 to support the ACN Scholars Fund. And that helped us raise our fundraising goal and establish our own endowment, which will benefit current and future students of color. On your tables, within, I believe it's in your handouts, you will find a QR code. No amount is too little. Feel free to donate what you can, what you will. Before I introduce our moderator, I'll be remiss if I fail to acknowledge some people who have been very instrumental in the ACN success. And as Michelle Nada, I see her in the back. Please raise your hand, Michelle. Woo! I also want to thank Erin Earl for her support of the ACN. Dr. Erin Earl. My sister Chrissy over there from CCEE, Chrissy Embark Sales. And someone who has been very pivotal in the last several years of the ACN and really being there for both my co-chair and I before I introduced my co-chair. This person came in and she advocated for us heavy. We needed her voice in her respective department. We were very sad to see her go, but we're great to see her go on and do even greater things, and that is Miss Amy Simononi. Thank you, Amy, for everything. Now to that moderator. Where you at, Sarah? There she is.
I actually want to stop back there. Is that all right?
That's fine with me, sis. Before, hold on, sis. I got you. Hold on. I got you introduce you now. Sarah Esmond Montero has been my co-chair for the last several years. Hold up, pause, go back, rewind a little bit. My brother, my former co-chair, is here also, and that's Winston D.C. Wilson.
Woo, DC.
My former co-chair, who passed the rock to Sarah. In D.C., you passed it into some good hands, brother. I appreciate you. Back to Esmond. You know, for the last several years, when she came back to Rhode Island, I asked her, when D.C. removed himself from the co-chair position, I asked Sarah to come on. And Sarah, you know this has been a big load on your shoulders, and I appreciate you carrying it along with me. You've been so instrumental, and I call on you. You're here, whether it's for the ACN, whether it's for the MSSC, whether it's for work we do in the community collectively. I appreciate you. I show you homage, sister, and I thank you for once again agreeing to be our moderator this evening. I've known Sarah for over 30 years, and she ain't flinched since. She's a beast. She comes from a beast. For those who don't know the DeMora family, if you go upstairs in the MSSC, you will see the DeMora Lounge. and that is in honor of her Uncle Tony, who was a member of the BSLG, the Black Student Leadership Group, and also the CVSA. So she comes from that. She comes from a stock of people who are about that word and about that life. And that's why every time I call on her, it's great to have her come up and just deliver the word as she always does. Without further ado, my co-chair, our moderator, Ms. Sarah Montero.
Hype me up like that.
Thinking about how I was going to start off this evening, and I thought that Bobby would invite somebody else if he wanted me to start off ordinarily, right? I've never been on stage with the boss, right? And so, because we're still in Women's Month and because we're running out of days, right? I'd like to start out with poetry. Is that all right with y'all?
Yes. Yes, yes.
All right. When you see me, see them. I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. I am who I am because I am loved. I am not lucky. I am loved. At the inception of my life, my mother named me Sara Patricia Lopes Monteiro, proclaiming that there would not be now one person, one system that could keep me from my success. I am who I am because I am loved. I am not lucky. I am loved. I have survived injustices, discrimination, and abuse, and pushed through, died to myself, resurrect, just to be here with you. I am who I am because I am loved. I am not lucky. I am loved. I'm not built by any one system. I am built on the back of women who have sacrificed their lives for me to stand before you today. When I wake up in the morning, I wake up not with my only desires. I have my mother's to-do list, which she did not finish, and my children's dreams to manifest. I am everything black. I am Criolla, Badia, Mexicana, Poderosa. And I'm here to stay. Is that okay?
Speak on it, sis.
I'm gonna run through a wall. I didn't know that was the energy I gotta bring. Yes.
Go back to my car real quick and get
Yeah.
it. Ooh, Lord.
Hi, everyone.
Bobby's just trying to tell you how old I am when he says, I know her over 30 years, all right? I'm not falling for that. Y'all give it up for Bobby, please. I'd like to center us as a community right now, so where you are in your chairs, if you could face forward and plant your feet at shoulder length, as well as my panelists, so just scoot back. And you want to slide yourself to like halfway on the chair to make sure that you have that straight alignment in your back. And let's go ahead and sync energy in this room. Y'all ready?
Let's get it.
And we're just going to make sure that we're here together, okay? Being here is not only physical, it's emotional, it's spiritual, okay? And so on the count of 3, I want you to take a breath. And the first breath you're going to take is for yourself. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. The second breath we're going to take is for our families, those that sacrifice their own happiness sometimes, their own freedom, their own privileges to make us who we are. Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. The third breath we're going to take is for community. For those people that see you when you have a need and fall in and fill in and don't remind you later, just love on you abundantly. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. The next breath we're going to take is for this nation. We have children in this room that are waiting to know that they have a future, to know that there's a safe space, not just physically safe, but emotionally safe. That we will create a haven where they can thrive, where they don't have to be misunderstood, where they will not face discrimination, but that success will be for everybody. Freedom will be for everybody. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. The last breath we will take is for the entire globe. May we respect her. She is being lent to us. May we navigate her with humility. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. So I want to thank everybody. Please just give it up for yourselves real quick. I want to thank everybody for being here. ACN was established in 2007, and it was really established to provide opportunities for interaction and collaboration among alumni, students, staff, and faculty of color. It's our hope that once you graduate, that you will think about joining our committee. The work never finishes, and we keep coming back for y'all. And so we hope that the students in this room will consider in the future joining ACN, and hope that today you'll hear something that might speak to your heart, right? Something that might spark an idea in your mind. And remember to come back and give back. It's to us and through us, right? A lot of us are alumni of the university, but we never forgot where we started sowing our seeds. And so we hope that today will be inspirational and that you will not just treat it as one night, but as students, that you will continue to engage with ACN. Fair? All right. So today I'd like to thank my co-chair, Bobby. He always does that to me, gives me too much credit, and then makes me work and up to it to live to it, for organizing today. Today is really a lot of his vision, a lot of his vision. And Bobby has a heart for community. What he wants for his loved ones, he wants for everybody. And we spend tireless hours answering emails, coordinating, and everything for today. So please just give it up for the entire committee. Everybody that had their hand on today, please clap it up for them. I'm gonna shout out some organizations that have been collaborating with us. If you are in the house, please make some noise, okay? First is the Alumni of Color Student Leaders. We'd like to thank you. We'd like to thank Bond, Brothers on a New Direction.
Yo.
We'd like to thank NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers. We'd like to shout out CVSA, Cape Verdean Student Association. Pink Women. Our intern, Stedman, intern of Diverse Alumni Initiatives, the Office of Community Equity and Diversity, the Division of Student Affairs and Diversity Grant, and the URI Foundation and Alumni Engagement. I hope by reading those names we understand that there's no one vision possible. Just scream it out, Bobby. Ship, please. I hope that we just paint a picture that this is all collaboration, right? There's no need to do any one thing on your own, and we are collaborating to bring the magic tonight. So tonight, our panelists will share their experiences as scholars and professionals of color to help you gain a greater understanding of the challenges you may face in both on campus, in the real world, and in the workforce. Following the panel, we'll be opening up the floor for question and answers. So I ask you guys to ask really introspective questions, students. As you're hearing people talk, just reflect on those things that you really, really want to know and ask those meaningful questions tonight. Are y'all ready to meet the panelists? Can y'all make some noise for them? It is a lot of pressure to be sitting up here, right? It looks like a grill, right? Like we're about to pass legislation and they need to defend it, right? So y'all take it easy on them today. Now let's meet our panelists. Up first, we have Janelle Amoko. Woo! Janelle is class of 2015 and also came back to graduate in 21 with her master's, correct? Yes. All right, awesome. And then we have Christopher Calderon, class of 2014. I might show bias, but that's just because some people up here have food, right? And whoever has food tends to be the favorite person, right? So give it up for Soroya Eugene, class of 2006. If y'all want to gain favor in my world, just bring me food, okay? She has bought me food, y'all. Next, we have Jason Hernandez, class of 2006. And then we have Anthony Markey, class of 2017. Now, I might be biased, y'all. Make a lot of noise for Dr. Joanna Ravello Goods, class of 97, and also came back in 99 for a master's. And then, y'all ready for a good story? I'm a storyteller, y'all. Last week, I was in the grocery store practicing being a good mom, right? Because good moms go to the grocery stores. When I ran into Luxon Omar. And Luxon looked at me and he was just like, Sarah! He was shocked to see me in the grocery store. Y'all know I left him right in the aisle, still shocked. I was like, Luxon, I'm not a robot. I eat food, right? I go grocery shopping too. Sometimes people see me at URI and they think, President, we haven't gotten me a dorm yet, right? No, I don't live here, right? So I'm out of the real world. Y'all please give it up for Luxon Omar Orbega. Class of 2016, Masters in 2018. Are y'all ready to jump right into it? Yes. All right, panelists, let's make this organic, okay? Don't make me voluntold you, and don't speak over each other, all right? We're gonna have time to hear from everybody. But if one of the questions I ask really speak to you, and you really want to answer it, let's do it that way, okay? So the first one is discuss the challenges that you have faced in transitioning from college into the workforce. What was that like going into the real world? Janelle's like, I got a testimony. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Hello? Can everyone hear me okay?
Move it closer, Janelle.
All right. Everyone hear me okay? All right. So for me, my background is in nursing. And so when I first graduated, or what I should say is one of the major things when we talk about nursing is therapeutic communication, how we care for our patients. And so, of course, going into practice, I was thinking, I'm just going to go in, take care of my patients, follow my protocol, I'm good to go. Well, when I started working, I realized very quickly how much tasks I had to do and how much very little time I had for my patients because I was constantly running around trying to keep track of everything. And I found out within that first 6 months that I started to get very discouraged because I said, I went into this profession wanting to care for people. And now I feel like I'm spending so much time running around doing things that isn't what I intended to do. And that first 6 months to a year, I really started to doubt if I had made the wrong decision altogether. And one thing I'll say that I'm so glad that I did was I had one nursing professor that when I graduated, she gifted me with a journal. And she said, Janelle, I want you to write down all your experiences, the good, the bad, everything, all your firsts. And I did what she told me. I wrote, my first patient, what that experience was like. The first time walking into a patient's room and saying, I'm the nurse. When you're in nursing school, you're so used to saying, oh, no, I'll get the nurse for you. And then you start working and you realize, oh, no, they're looking at me. That was a big deal. And so for me, that first process and really just understanding how going from school to then actually transitioning into the role and seeing how different it was. But then in time, I began to really gain my footing, and I realized how it really was one and the same. But I had to give myself grace during the process. I had to realize that I did have that knowledge, but it was going to take time for it to get ingrained. And I'm so glad that that professor at the time had recommended the journal, because a year after, and I remember those days, the first few months, going to my car and crying and saying, oh my goodness, I made a mistake. And then as time went on, I'd go back and I would look through that journal and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm actually getting better. It's not taking me as long, and being able to mark my journey. And so that was one of my major challenges.
Awesome. Can I see by a show of hands anybody that is thinking of going to the healthcare field? Hands up. Hi. Make sure you connect after, okay, and talk about that. Thank you. Go ahead, Chris.
Let me make sure you can hear me. So I think one of the biggest challenges when I first transitioned over was really understanding the work culture. It was really joining what you can consider the corporate jungle at first, right? And for me, it was very literal because I started at corporate. I have a civil engineering background. I wanted to work and want to work and continue to work in construction. So corporate is something that did not come natural to me. So one thing that really helped was really inserting myself into every opportunity possible, right? So for myself, it was really being able to replicate what worked well for me here at URI. So here at URI, I participated in organizations. For me, it was the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, SHIP, which really taught me how to be a professional, really. And I did the same thing at work. I inserted myself to all these groups, all these different teams, introduced myself, found all these opportunities, and continued to make myself visible. And that really brought the opportunity for myself to join operations, to actually do construction, which is what I wanted to do, right? I think another challenge that first came about when I transferred over to operations was really proving myself, right? Something that, we generally take for granted as far as like who we are as people, right? But when you join this group of people, this team, right, who are not familiar with you, you need to show and demonstrate that you're willing to do the work. You need to be there. You need to be consistent. You need to show discipline. You need to show reliability and that you can be trusted, essentially. And I really felt like I had to prove myself, and I did for the first 1 to 5 years. At the end of the day, you can't scale a business if you're on cruise control. You need to make sure that you put yourself out there and take the opportunities similar to what has worked for yourself here at URI and implement that in the workplace.
I actually have a question to piggyback after that for both you and Janelle. I heard you say you have to prove yourself, and I became curious about how do you prove yourself without losing yourself?
That's a great question.
So you do actually lose yourself a little bit. That's a real answer. One thing for myself that I struggled with was work-life balance, and I mean, finally, I got a little better at it, but it goes in waves. For the first 1 to 5 years, I made sure that I was the first person in and last person out. And I made sure that I took that opportunity to demonstrate that I'm reliable, that I'm there. And I understand there's a sacrifice to that. There's sacrifices that your family makes for you, and I can't thank my wife enough for putting up with me for those years, because it was something that, in order for me to scale professionally, I did lose myself for a little bit, and family brought me back, so it's something that you can't exactly take away the bad side of it, right? And I hate to call it the bad side, because you are learning. You're not actually feeling that you're putting in those hours. You're growing, you're developing, you're evolving. It's an investment. It's an investment in yourself. So you do have to do the work.
Thank you. Janelle.
When you talked about proving yourself, the first thing that came to my mind was how you first have to prove yourself to yourself before you can prove who you are to anyone else. And a lot of times that comes with being able to take risks, because in order to be able to say who you are, you have to be able to test that out. And when you're new to any profession, there are so many risks. And I think about myself as the planner that I am. I want to be able to say, I'm going to do this, then do that. It's going to be this perfect scenario. But we all know in this room that life does not play out that way. And so sometimes some of the biggest opportunities come when you're willing to take risks. And in that moment, you begin to figure out, get closer to understanding who you are, and you step into yourself and you begin to shine like that.
Awesome. Thank you. The next question is, if you went on to grad school, what influenced you to move on to grad school?
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? I have a very honest answer to this, and it was really money. At that time, I know things are maybe a little different now, but at that time, the idea of earning a degree and earning, especially earning an advanced degree, came with increases in pay. At that time, I was a single mom. I had I think maybe a 4-year-old, 5-year-old once I started graduate school, and I really kept thinking, I definitely want to make a better way for myself. I want to be able to afford things. I want nice things. I want a house. I want to be able to buy food and do all these things. But I registered really early that for me, a bachelor's in human development, which was fantastic from the University of Rhode Island, when I was looking at what some yearly earnings would look like, it didn't seem like it would be enough for me and my son. So I think for me, it really was financial.
Okay.
The first graduate degree. The second graduate degree is a different story.
That was personal. And if anybody just left school and went directly into the workforce, what influenced that for you? Go ahead.
I'll take that one. For me, it actually was the internship that I did here at the Career Center. It really helped me grow my network. My last year here, I did an internship at the State House, and it really opened doors for me to get in government. So I spent the last 12 years working in state and city government for different elected officials, all high-profile elected officials. But I think that internship really helped pave the way for me to get there and be even comfortable and grow my network.
Awesome. And so the next question is, how would you suggest students overcome doubts about their majors or their career paths? What are some steps, proactive steps they can take?
I'll take that one. I know for me, I switched my major a couple of times. I would say definitely if you're not sure, just take your time, because I actually wasted like 3 years extra that I had to stay in school because I picked a major and then I switched my major until I finally found out what I wanted to do. I had an idea, but I think I rushed to, it was like this kind of this pressure of wanting to know, like you had to know what you wanted to be, when, you know, like you had to know your career. But if you're not sure, it's okay. It's okay to take gen ed classes and just go through until you're really sure, because time wasted is not good. You know what I mean? You want to kind of make sure that you're utilizing your time wisely. So.
Yeah, I'll add some perspective here. The more I think about this question, the more I think it doesn't matter as much as you think it does today. Like if you ask Bobby, probably first time I met him, across his desk, I had an Excel spreadsheet. I knew what courses I was taking and what semester, and I knew everything. I knew how I was going to graduate. And my career path was like a CPA at PwC. I'm not a CPA at PwC, just for you all to know. But the thing is, like, you have to be flexible. And sometimes you look at experiences and you say, they're not what I wanted it to be, or man, like I could have done better or spent my time differently. But each, you know, I'm in my third role, and they've all been different, and they were all a building block to where I am today. Right. And something that you really need to get good at is explaining your story. Like, why does that make sense for you? Because you might look at a resume and it might just look like, hey, why are you zigzagging everywhere? It's like, no, this is actually what it is. And this is my background, this is my story, and this is why it makes the most sense for me. So that's my feedback.
Awesome, thank you. Y'all can clap. This is not graduation. Like, please hold the applause to the end. No, if there's somebody saying something that makes sense, snap in the air, clap, do whatever comes natural to you, all right? This is going to turn into a dialogue soon, okay? So I hope your wheels are turning. I hope you're thinking about the things that you want to know. I love going off script, so here I go. What trainings have you had? Because sometimes, yes, a degree is amazing, but in order to stay modern within this 21st century, there was different trainings, different skill sets you need in order to thrive. What trainings have you gone through that have been impactful to your growth and your development?
That's a good question.
Like, I'm trained in therapeutic crisis intervention, so these hands are registered, y'all, right? What trainings have you gone through that have been beneficial for you?
I can take this. Good evening. Sorry, y'all. I think for me specifically, I was a leadership minor at the University of Rhode Island when I was here. That was an absolutely transformational perspective for me to have as a young student who didn't really know anything about themselves. I didn't know anything about who I was, but by being in that minor, it really opened my eyes to the type of person I could be. And I think about my career now, I'm still doing leadership development work for myself. I think no matter what field you're in, no matter what industry you're in, you can always utilize a little bit or a lot of bit of just leadership development. And that really just comes from understanding who you are as a person, understanding your skill sets, understanding your personality, understanding what you bring to the table, the gaps that you have, right? And luckily, unfortunately for me, have an opportunity to be part of the Rhode Island Foundation has a Equity Leadership Initiative, which is like the second year cohort of this amazing professional development opportunity for a lot of different professionals of color in the state of Rhode Island who are looking for that next thing or just looking for an opportunity to kind of develop and grow professionally, personally. And the cohort and being part of this cohort is allowing me to meet people in different industries, learn about the language of people in different industries, but also what the cohort does is partner me with an executive coach, right? So I have somebody who I work with twice a month who's working with me through different work-based challenges that I'm having, help me develop a trajectory for my future. And it's been an incredibly amazing and transformation thing for me. So I think no matter what field you're in and no matter what industry you're in, I think any opportunity to develop yourself as a leader, you can fill in the blank for what you want to deem as a leader. I think everybody here has leadership capabilities and potential. Definitely take it. It could be within your workplace or within the community that you're in. Take those opportunities because I think it definitely makes a difference.
Thank you.
If I can add to that, so we could talk about trainings and we could talk about specific items and software and all these technical skills that we may think may be important. But I'll give you a quick story. I personally found the thing that stuck the most in my mind as far as training goes is a cheesy leadership institute course I took 8 years ago. And it was something that I had to take just to leadership develop. But I walked into this room at 100 Federal Street in Boston. I had to go through the gate, get checked out, make sure, I don't have a weapon on me. And I remember going into this room, and it was an author of a book. And he's pretty much selling his book. And I thought, well, what am I really going to gain here, right? And the course was the ability to influence others. And I found the most insightful information off of this very cheesy author's course. It essentially broke down the information or the little quirks that we have as human beings. Like it's that I'll give you something to make you feel good, and in some way, shape, or form, somehow later on, you'll reciprocate because life goes full circle. And in my life, throughout my life, everything's been full circle.
Yep.
So every little bit of impact that you have in a person, in an organization, or your community, it really comes back. And in some way, shape, or form, it will help you evolve and it will allow you to grow yourself as a human being. So that cheesy course paid off.
Awesome. You hear that? When they're offering cheesy courses, go. You'll never know, right? And please, you sparked on something that then I want to put everybody in the hot seat to answer. Is there a book or somebody in the community that was pivotal to maybe your personal style and how you approach your work? So for me, I think of a book by Valerie Burton, and it's Successful Women Speak Differently, right? I've always had this idea that words shape our realities, and I wanted to get better about how I use my words, right? And that book was pivotal to me. And so Successful Women Speak Differently was one that was very pivotal to me. And then when I say community leaders, I think of Valerie Tutson, who is with Rhode Island Black Storytellers. She's somebody I've been watching my whole life, and she's somebody that you can see her in any space, and she's always a constant. And I knew that that's how I wanted my model for my life to be, right? I didn't want to be one of those people that's at work like, hey, how's your day, right? And then you catch me in the grocery store and I look like, right? I wanted to find my balance in life so that when you catch me parenting, when you catch me emceeing, when you catch me in my day-to-day, that you're feeling like you're running into the same person over and over again. And Val was my North Star in teaching me that. And so I ask you guys, think of community leaders or a book that influenced you, and please share out resources. These are the hard questions, y'all. They send them questions. This was not on there.
I'll speak on that. I would say my pastor, Rudy Mosley, I've taken a lot of leadership classes with him at church, and just helping me in my entrepreneur journey has been.
What is your entrepreneurship journey?
So I own a bakery in North Providence, and it's been.
Do y'all hear that? Like, y'all must not know the politics of Rhode Island, right? Soroya owns a bakery in North Providence. Can y'all please clap it up for her? Sorry, go ahead, sis.
So I've when I first started going to the church, he definitely his passion is not only for pastoring, but it's teaching. So he does a lot of courses just for us to find our gifts. I'm big on tapping into your gifts, finding out what you want to do in your life and really pursuing that. So he has been a pivotal part of my life, a pivotal person in my life that has helped me step further further into my potential and continue to grow. I'm taking a leadership class. You can find him on LinkedIn, by the way, and his courses and different things that we do. We do it through Zoom, and we're in a leadership course right now, and it's even amazing. Just I'm in the bakery baking on Zoom, where I'm learning so much more, and I'm just figuring out each and every day how to grow my business, how to help myself just personally, because there's a lot of things that we go through, battles and stuff like that, but we still have to go through life. We still have to go to work. We still have to go to school. How do you navigate those things, So I'm learning that every day, and it's helping me grow.
Awesome.
I'll just share really, really quick. So my work is we're an upper medical school at Brown, and so I get to work with a lot of physicians and med students and residents. And one of my first couple of months, one of our medical students was graduating, and she shared with me this book, and I was trying to find it on my Amazon, and I definitely get the title to you. But the book was about emotional intelligence, and I had no idea this concept of EQ. Right? We always kind of preface this idea of just intelligence in general, like, who's the smartest? What do you know the most about? But this book was really speaking about, how do you recognize and regulate your emotions as a human being, right? And she brought up the book to me because she accounted multiple times in her medical school journey where she was going through these bouts of emotional fluctuations, and she really didn't understand. And someone had told her, you should check out this book. It's really interesting. And she swears by the information that book shared with her, right? And it's just really helping you to understand, right? The language that we have for emotions is very limited, right? We know we're angry, we're mad, we're sad. But there is a spectrum of emotions that we have in between being aggravated and just being angry, right? And it really kind of breaks down for you how to, first of all, recognize what you're going through emotionally, right? Because oftentimes we act on behavior, right? Our behavior moves, but behind that, there's an emotional piece that's missing that we're not necessarily in touch with, right? And so you might react a certain way to something today that emotionally had affected you maybe a couple of days ago, and it's just showing up for you, right? And so I think the book, and I'm gonna definitely try to find the name of the book, but it's on my nightstand. But I think it's been really, really helpful because I think that development, and I think personal development, I think really starts within. It's really understanding and regulating how you organize and think about who you are as a person, right? That thought process that you kind of go through, and then outwardly, I think it shows up in a way that you want to. But I think that personal journey of understanding who you are, I think, is really important. So emotional intelligence, I think, is things that folks should definitely pay attention to.
How many, please give it up for that, please. He just gave y'all some free work and y'all ain't even realize it. How many people in here are education majors, psychology majors? Hands really, really high. If you did not hear him, I want you to hear him right now. In education, we know that social emotional learning accounts for student success, right? And social emotional learning is all based off of emotional intelligence, right? I like to tell people sometimes I'm intellectual, but sometimes I lack emotional intelligence, right? My kids are here, they'll tell you, right? Who left this Lego on the floor, right? Emotional intelligence is a lot about self-regulation, and a lot of times when we're going through things in this world, we think, oh, that person's triggering me, or that's making me act this way, all of that, right? When you can have a lot more power by just understanding your own makeup, right? The layers of your identity, how you function. And that's so important to know before you walk into anybody's workplace. You do not want it to run into people's disappointments in order to improve yourself. You really want to know yourself so well, right? That when somebody tells you something about yourself, it's not breaking news, right? And you want to know yourself so well that if somebody is telling you something that does not belong to you, gift it and give it back, right? And so you can't do that without emotional intelligence. So I just want to big up Luxon for that. Anyone else? Okay, I'm going to go on to the next one. What are some organizations y'all participated in when you were here in school, and how have you taken those transferable skills with you in the real world?
I'm sorry, I gotta take this one, y'all. I talk to a lot of young kids all the time. It's my job, like 8th graders all the way to undergrads, and I'm talking about, okay, so you want to become a doctor, and they're asking me about my college experience, and I tell them all the time, right, like the learning I did in this building taught me so much. And I loved my academic career. I think it gave me a foundation for philosophy of how I perceive the world. It gave me a lens. But the doing part of my daily work is I learned it through Brothers in New Direction. Like, that organization was absolutely transformational for me as a human being, as a black man on this campus, but also as a leader and being able to lead others. I think it was absolutely transformational. The work that we were doing through music, the Multicultural Unity Students Development Council, I was an activist as a student at URI, and I didn't even know it. If you look at the name of the Multicultural Student Services Center, right, that, it used to be called the Multicultural Center at one point, right? And when we got to learn about the history of the University of Rhode Island, especially the history of black folks here, of individuals of color here, and the strive that they had to make to even getting that building built, getting recognition, getting courses that adhere to them, getting the funding, all those really, really important things, we activated ourselves with the support of our instructors and our supporters here to call on the president to change the name, and the name got changed, right? That is such an amazing experience that when I revert back to it, it is so cool. And I think about, we were able to kind of bring a conference to campus, the Diversifying Individuals via Education Rhode Island. We were very, very excited about that name, but in hindsight, we probably could have shortened up a bit. But it was Dive RI. We brought a conference to URI, and it brought students of color from all over the New England, and they came here for 2 days, and they got to learn about how can you be a better student leader? What are some things going on your college campus that students of color are facing? We were able to bring, Dr. Trisha Rose, Mark Lamont Hill, Common. We brought a bunch of really awesome keynote speakers here. That's how I first met Jason, because we were trying to bring the Secretary of State here. We got to meet him, so we had these experiences, and I'm like, the opportunity to gain these skills of working collaboratively with other individuals. We had to raise money from all the different departments at the university. People, we had to do a lot of work that, as I think about it now, I'm so happy I did that as a student at URI and how impactful it was. So I'm sorry,
Y'all feel the energy?
had to.
Don't do nothing in life if you don't feel this way about it, right? That's really living in an authentic life, and so we appreciate the energy.
I'll add as well. So being in nursing, I was very active in a lot of nursing-based organizations, and one of the things that I know I'm proud of when I was in undergrad here was the Student Nurses Association. And one of the things we were doing was, at the time, we didn't have any blood drives that were happening in the college. And my brother happens to have a chronic illness, sickle cell, and he had benefited for years from blood donations. And so that was one of the things that I was like, no, as part of the nursing college, we want to take this. And from that point onward, we started doing blood drives in the College of Nursing. And I was one of the students at the time that really kind of helped uplift not only just URI nursing, but also the state. So I was involved in the Student Nurses Association for Rhode Island. And then kind of with all that leadership at the time at URI, once I started going to nursing, I was like, oh my goodness, I have to get more involved. There has to be more out there. And so I ended up joining the Rhode Island State Nurses Association, ended up getting on the board. And I love that as well, because not only did I learn about just advocacy for patients, but I learned about how important it was to advocate for the nursing profession as a whole. And what does it mean to protect our nurses so that we're able to do the work that we need to do? And I would not even have thought about that if I had not been active as a college student as well.
Give it up for her, please. I'm going to pose one last question. I just looked at the clock and realized I'm having too much fun. But I'm going to pose one more question. And it's so interesting because I've been doing trainings all week with 5th and 6th graders and teaching them how to celebrate and acknowledge diversity in a room. And I know we have different personalities up here as well, too. So if it's okay, I'm going to volunteer you. Y'all know what that means?
Yes, we do.
When I ask for a volunteer, but I really say who's going to answer it. Joanna, you're looking at me. You're one of those people I'm volunteering right now. Okay? And so my question to you and my question to Chris is, what is one of the changes you would like to see at URI to benefit people of color and underrepresented populations in our community?
One change.
You only get one tonight, Joanna. We'll take more later if you keep coming to visit us.
Well, my bias, because my husband's a faculty member of color here, I would love to see continued support for faculty of color with regards to their research, their teaching, and the surface opportunities that are available. I would love that. I would love it, when I was here working as the director for community and organizational development, and I'd meet faculty through some of the work I would do, some of the trainings and so forth. And we know that our faculty of color have probably a disproportionate responsibility for supporting our students of color as well, in addition to the research, teaching, and service that is required for them to earn tenure and promotion. So all of the work that I imagine that Community Equity and Diversity is doing to advance that work, I think that would be one of the things I would love to see. I would love to see that to be built out more. I'd love to see that built out more at my institution, Stone Hill College, and I'm responsible for it. So, so that would be my one thing.
Awesome. How many people here know that we really have some amazing faculty that really go above and beyond? Dr. John, are you still in the building? We have people that clock out of work and still come support us, right? And that happens all the time. Like, our community is so dope. I don't know what fountain of youth they drink out of, right? But they keep showing up, and they've been showing up for a long time. Shout out, Carol, right? Keep showing up. Chris.
All right, so I'm gonna lead with the positive, right? So I wouldn't so much call it a change as I would call it an improvement, right? So what I'd recommend is leveraging the strengths of URI, right? So URI is the flagship school for the state, right? So there's existing infrastructure that exists here at URI, such as the wonderful organizations that we have, some of that have been mentioned. And I would recommend that we really branch out to persons such as ourselves who are out in the workforce, out in the community, who are willing to give back to our community, right? So I believe that there should be, we could bridge the gap between, the theoretical here at URI in college and the workforce employer end. I think that we have a very deep amount or depth in the amount of alumni that we have. It's a deep pool of resources that are here in the state, and we can take advantage of the geographical footprint being so small where we can actually be here, be present, give back, right? And I think that we can provide, some of our time, some mentorship, some general, speaking opportunities such as the one we have here today. One example on my end is, and I'm sure that there's other examples here on the panel, is employers are also looking to grow this set of diverse resources, right?
Yep.
So in my example, I have a voice at the company I work for. I am part of, and I am a leader of our employee resource group, right? So our mission is to bring, ourselves for a positive for positiveness and ability to our organizations and community, right? We're here as a resource. We're more than willing to provide, some time, some effort, some mentorship. And like I said, like we can grow the existing infrastructure we have here at URI with the employers that we have in the state of Rhode Island.
Give it up for him, please. I don't want to take too long on this. I do want to echo, though, Chris. I want to shout out Bobby. So this year, MSSC had an event in which they invited out local business owners and entrepreneurs in respect to making sure that the students, if they want internships, can be embedded within our community. I also want to shout out Career Center and the career platform we have here, and making sure that we're all on it, because it is written, the algorithm is written to make sure that it matches up students with people from their community as well and their needs. So we're gonna keep growing on that. We're gonna keep building on that. And I think I heard him, Amy, I don't know if you heard it, but I heard him say that he wants to support the endowment. He's like, I got connections, y'all. My company will help us, right? So I think he wants to help us with the endowment, and we're gonna get to that. Before we close out, I messed up. Jason, it was really you I was trying to get, and Chris's presence is just so big that it was like looming over. But since I got you leaning forward now, I want you to talk 1 minute, 2 minutes to them about the importance of civic engagement.
Good question.
That's a big question. That's a loaded question. Absolutely. Interesting. So my career path here, even though I studied political science, I spent 12 years in government, but my career path was not linear. Now I'm working in banking. And it's important because it is about civic engagement. So my call to action to everyone here is when you go back to your when you graduate or go back to your home state or stay here locally, give back to your community, whether it's serving on a board, and many boards right now are looking for folks to serve, whether serving on a nonprofit board, on a local government board or committee, or even coaching your little league. Definitely give back and pave the way for others, because it is really important. It also helps you grow your network. I'm here today because of my network that I built over the years. So it's really, really important. And again, if you're not registered to vote, that's another piece as well too. Try to register to vote, get engaged with your local government, and continue to build some partnerships.
Yes, clap it up, please. Now I'm going to tell how old I am, right? But I remember being at URI, and they came to get us, and they sent us a bus, and we did door-to-door campaigning for Sheldon Whitehouse, and then he won. And guess who we met that night before he was who he was?
President Obama.
President Obama. We were sipping champagne, and we met President Obama, right? So civic engagement comes with some really good times, too, all right, y'all? All right, so now the floor is yours. We're gonna ask for questions from the students, and here's how we're gonna do it, y'all. Bobby has the microphone. You're gonna raise your hand. He's gonna come to you. And I challenge you all, let's be quick, to the point, so that we can get some food in our bellies. How about that? Yes? And then we can have intimate conversations on the floor. I heard somebody just testify and say amen. Can I get somebody to second that notion? There we go. All right. So questions, hands in the air. Get your Statue of Liberty on. Don't look at your neighbor. Don't look at your neighbor.
That one took a second. Yeah.
Hi, sorry. My name's Victoria. I'm a first-year grad student in the College Student Personnel Program. So my question is, given your different identities, what have been some challenges that have come up navigating the professional world?
Joanna said, oh, Jesus, stop resurrecting her pain.
You want to take this one?
Well, okay, so
Tell your story, girl.
just briefly, Bobby was like, okay, brief response.
She's going to release a memoir after.
So
Yes,
I appreciate
just
that.
briefly.
So I'll say two things. One is I want to answer the question about a book that's been on my mind. So at Stonehill College, I teach Black feminist thought. It's the first time the class has ever been taught at the institution. And some of the things we're learning about is what does it mean to navigate life, world, right? Your children, your relationships through the lens of both your Blackness and your womanness, right? And so I feel that more than ever these days, as I look around at a predominantly white institution, and sometimes I'm like, things pop off, and I'm not gonna go into all the details, but things pop off, and I'm like, you coming for my blackness, my womanness, or my black womanness? And you have to sit there and try to decipher, or maybe it's something else. Speaking of emotional intelligence, now I'm trying to tie the entire panel together, but speaking of emotional intelligence, I feel like what you said hit me so hard because you also have to kind of navigate your history, your personal histories, the experiences that you've had, especially when you do DEI work, right? Whether you did activism, whether you were a victim of something as you know, in your early childhood or your career and all of this other stuff. So all of these things are often, as things are popping off on a day-to-day basis, I'm thinking about all of that. What do you know, and unfortunately, I think what I've had to develop, not unfortunately, I'll say fortunately, I've had to develop keen discernment about what it is that people are presenting. I loved what you just said about, is it me? I know myself, so I know, okay, that's some stuff I need to work on. Is it you? I'm gonna re-gift it and give it back to you. I think that's so powerful, and thank you for that. I feel like I gotta write that on my wall, but long story short, that intersection of race and gender and trying to figure out what is it that people are coming for, right? And can I leverage it to help them?
It's those beautiful frames they want, Joanna.
And everybody.
Please.
So my first, I don't know, is anybody in clinical lab science or medical technology?
Oh,
That's what my degree is
blessings.
in. So my first tech job, I decided to take my job in Hawaii. And on my first walkthrough of the lab, my supervisor said to me, I don't know how it's gonna work here because the people from the mainland are not good techs. And I was devastated because I'm like, to be honest, URI has the best, in my opinion, I'm a little biased, medical technology program. If you've gone through it, I feel like it's the best.
President Parlage is clapping for that. He's like, tell everybody, Soraya. Every time you sell a muffin, a cupcake, tell them.
Yes, so I learned a lot. And just the way the structure of the program was, at first I was like, how, you think you're being discriminated against your race or whatever, but because I'm from the mainland, it was a shock to me, but I just felt like having, I wanted to prove, what I learned and that I'm a good tech and that I belong here, and I actually worked very well independently. She ended up being one of my good friends after a while. I didn't like her in the beginning, but to be honest. But just showing, when you're in the workforce, sometimes you do, like she said, you do encounter people that kind of make you question, what you know, what you've learned. But I just say, in my opinion, I was very confident in who I was, and I knew my stuff. I was a good hematologist. I still am. And I learned a lot, and I applied myself in school, and I wasn't going to let anyone take that from me, no matter where I came from, where I studied. I know what I learned, and I was a tech for 16 years, and I actually use my skills that I have from my college degree in my business. So being a baker, everyone says it is a science. Just learning the procedures and stuff like that in my career helped me to have a flow and going into being an entrepreneur.
Awesome. Give it up for them, please. We have another question.
All right. So my question is, what are the similarities and differences of your personal and professional growth, and what tools have helped y'all separate the two?
Being ready for these questions, huh?
That's a good question.
I'll take this really quick. I think that personally, I think professionally, I am incredibly confident in the work that I do. I think my full skill set as a communicator, a collaborator, someone who wants to get stuff done, it shows. I try to be very, very direct and succinct, and all that I think works out perfectly for me professionally. In my personal life, I think it's been the opposite. It's been the opposite because I think for a long time, and again, kind of bring back to emotional intelligence, I operated in an exterior sense, right? Okay, I'm building myself up professionally to do this thing, right? But I never did enough work to think about personally, how do I communicate with family and friends, and how do I, how am I direct with the people who I surround myself, who I love, and how am I intentional about the relationship I'm developing, right? I think I work because I knew the benefits of that, it came natural and I did it really well. I think it's taken a while for me, and I think it's continuous work to recognize the kind of the gaps that I have personally, right, and being able to communicate my feelings in the way that I want to, and not being. I think oftentimes at work I'm like, people know who I want, know what I want, and what I want to do. I think personally sometimes what I realize about myself is like I don't allow for my feelings and my thoughts to be like in front. And so I allow other people to kind of like, I have this like deep like sympathy and empathy, and I don't allow my feelings to be to take place and to hold space personally. And in being married and having that be a mirror to me, it's definitely taken a lot of work. But I think in my workplace, people wouldn't say that about me. So I think I've now discovered that I have my voice at work, professionally speaking, and that's good. But I need to finding my voice in my personal life and being okay with how I feel, like being okay to feel my feelings and letting other people see that. And because I'm conflict avoidant in my personal life, where not really professionally, being okay with conflict personally and dealing with that I wasn't thinking about that as an undergrad or even in grad school. It took me until I got into workplace and had somebody hold a mirror to myself that I started to realize that.
Lux and getting personal here. Y'all, don't be those people that aspire to be amazing at work and then not nice at home, right? It starts from the home, right? And so personally, I know that I've taken an ode, and I know you all know I take this ode because you see my children everywhere, right? But it's like the people that get my most time, the people that get most of my energy are my loved ones, right?
All right. My name is Jordan Severino. I'm a senior here. My question is more geared towards Soroye, mostly because you're an entrepreneur. You decided to, take your hobby and make it into a full-time business. I'm kind of in a situation, I'm sure there's other people that don't really have a direct, from graduation straight into the workforce. Like, I'm not a business major. I don't go straight into accounting or anything crazy like that. For you, what was that major deciding factor that said, okay, I'm not really going to be working so much into what I graduated for? What made you think, okay, I want to be a baker. I'm going to start this business and I'm just going to get out of here and just make this my full-time thing? Because I have hobbies like that and I just don't really know how to make that segue.
It wasn't an overnight thing. It definitely, it took me 11 years to actually take the step to go full-time, be my own boss, work for myself. Throughout the time, I worked in the lab, and I actually grew my business by bringing stuff to the lab and baking, and I got clients from the people that I work with from where I worked. I worked at Boston Children's Hospital, so I was able to gain a lot of clientele that way. And then they actually poured into my business because they seen that passion in me. So it's like an up and down journey. I quit my job before, and I actually had to, when things weren't going well, I actually had to go back to the job. But the thing was, I had a career to fall back on. And I think that's the most important thing when you're an entrepreneur. You do have to have something to fall back on, because sometimes it may not that it may not work, but sometimes you may have to take a step back, or you may have to supplement. And I've had to do that multiple times where I actually did per diem, and then so that I can focus on my business, and to the point where finally in October, I had to let go of that fear of not having that constant paycheck, that 9 to 5. Okay, you're responsible for what you're getting paid. And I just took the leap in October and told my job, deuces, gotta go.
Freedom is expensive, right? But it's so well worth it. All right, can we make this our last question, and then we will make it. The panelists are going to be around, okay? So it's not like they're going to disappear right after this. I hope they want to eat too, okay?
Yeah.
So please.
So my name is Trinity Shell, and I'm a senior here. I'm a psych and gender women's studies major. So my question is more so geared towards Janelle, because I saw in your little bio that you deal with the racial disparities in your field, and that's partially why I'm a psych major. So how exactly do you deal with that in your day-to-day job? How do you make a difference in your healthcare field? You know, any advice you have for me who wants to change the stigma around mental health and racial disparities in healthcare, well, mental health care?
Right. That's a great question. You know, when you're dealing with people, you deal with all sides of people. And so I've experienced those disparities, you know, dealing with patients from all different backgrounds, but especially with someone coming from, you know, African particularly. I'll share one story. I was kind of just with one of my patients, and I'm listening to the side, a nutritionist talking with a patient that happens to come from an African background. And she's going over some diet recommendations for him. And as she's talking, she starts to mention different food items, and she's saying, you know, asparagus, and she's mentioning, oh, you know, you can do this beef stroganoff. She's mentioned all these different things, and I'm thinking to myself, I said, I'm not hearing her say, you know, what does he usually eat? You know, what is his traditional diet? And, you know, I was respectful. I let her finish, you know, what she was doing. But afterwards, I came to her and I said, you know, I apologize. I didn't hear your initial conversation with him, but do you happen to know that, you know, this man is Nigerian? And some of the things that you're saying, I don't think he necessarily even eats that food. And she looked right at me and she goes, well, he didn't say anything. And I said, well, did you ask him those questions? Did you take the time to ask him, what does he eat? Describe that, those sorts of things. And she just stared at me. And what I find is, you know, a lot of people, they mean well. They're not trying to, you know, they're not trying to give bad care or, but a lot of it is a lack of education. And so when I'm coming to these spaces, I'm just there to, in a way that I'm growing and I'm learning as a professional, I'm there to help teach and guide my colleagues as well. And so that's one example out of many, you know, that I see in healthcare. But I think what is so wonderful is that when we all are in those spaces, just being who we are, we're bringing that education with us, no matter what your background is. I remember one time I was just in the hallway, and this random gentleman ran up to me, and he goes, sister, I'm so glad to see you. And I wasn't even his relative's nurse, but he said, I'm so glad to see you today. So, you know, the disparities, there are there, and there are many. But for you in your space, I know right now you just asking that question, you're gonna fill that gap where you need to be.
So I promise you all we are getting close to food. I just want to invite Stedman to the stage, please. Stedman is our intern, is the intern for Diverse Alumni Initiatives. He's been working with ACN to support the future alumni and alumni engagement, as well as fundraising. Stedman is so awesome. He doesn't just manage all of his tasks, he also manages us. He always sends me friendly text messages like, can you please reply to the email, right? Because volunteers can be a little bit disobedient, right? They don't really have a check-in point. So I wanted to invite Stedman to the stage. This man got an old soul. I know he been here before, y'all.
How you guys doing? So, thank you, Sarah. Tonight, our alumni panelists demonstrated the positive impact of the Alumni of Color Network, highlighting how we inspire, learn, and grow with one another. As a future alumnus, I appreciate connecting with alumni who, throughout my college career, have served as mentors and both personal and professional resources. I encourage you to become involved with the Alumni of Color Network now and stay involved with URI and ACN after graduation. I know I will. I also want to shout out my predecessor, Mitch Ashanti. because I remember it was exactly last year at the spring panel that he came to me. He was like, "Yo, let me know if you need a summer job." I'm like, sure, all that, but I wasn't too sure. He didn't tell me what it was, anything. A couple weeks later, opened my bank account, and I was like, you know what? Let me hit him up,
Relatable.
Yeah. And I'm glad that I was able to take on this job because it's much more about the money. Meeting people like Amy Simonini, Michelle Noda, Isabel, multiple people, it was just so beautiful. As intern for diverse alumni initiatives, my goal was to devise a way to bridge the gap between alumni of color and students of color. Working with Amy Simonini and Bobby Brito Oliveira, we established an organization called Alumni of Color Student Leaders. Our mission is to provide professional development opportunities for students to work with the ACN leadership, as well as broaden opportunities for students to connect with successful alumni to learn about different career paths and build a personal network. Philanthropy is also a big part of our organization, as well by promoting the ACN Scholars Fund. Currently, we have 26 members, and we're looking forward to getting it center recognized to continue our mission. Thank you. Yeah, that's good. Also, if you'd like the chance to win some awesome Rudy swag, please fill out your raffle ticket now if you haven't already done so. Please raise your hand if you need a ticket and write your name, first and last name on it. A volunteer will come around and assist with the tickets soon. Finally, I know you're hungry, so it's coming soon. I would like to thank our incredible moderator, Sarah, and please accept this gift as a token of appreciation for your hard work and dedication to Woo!
I just want to say this is how the university keeps me. They give me these mystery bags every so often. Thank y'all.
Also, I would like to thank our alumni panelists for taking time out of their busy schedules to be part of the engaging and important event. And at this time, I would like to bring our student volunteers to come and give gifts to the alumni.
No, of course, of course.
Mystery bag. Commit to it. Just commit to it.
You're good. You might as well just go to the end now. Just go to the end that way, right? There we go. Y'all could just converge perfectly. It worked out.
That's that leadership.
Oh, well, Esther, it's a pleasure. Pleasure to see you. Pleasure to meet you. Oh, well, there we go. Thank you.
I can take a picture with the panelists on my sit down.
Great.
Freaking alumni. All right. Good.
You don't gotta whisper. Wait. Whisper.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got that second one.
We truly appreciate your commitment to and support the Alumni of Color Network, and we thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for coming. Who's ready for dinner? Everyone, I think. Awesome. All right. So just to keep things sort of calm and a little bit smoother, we're going to do it by table numbers. So first, if we could have tables 1 through 4. If you could make your way to the back of the room for the buffet, please. Thank you.
I think they want us to join the tables. They got them like.
Oh, panelists first as well. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
My code is at 1. Yeah.
Under it or
What were you looking for?
against the barrel?
It was on the right side of the table.
God, you're gonna try to make me say what age I am?
Yeah, I don't even know what it might be going over, but
Man.
I was really
You're
trying to
great.
give it to you. I'm not sure I want you to.
Well, I appreciate your
Yeah, good job, Bobby.
Thank you. Thank you.
All
Everything. I graduated.
Can we?
I definitely want to keep this. Bobby, we get to keep this?
When he was like a baby.
Okay.
I graduated 08, but I did
Okay.
a 5-year plan, so 03 is when I came to TV.
Yeah, so we overlapped a lot. I came in 02 and I graduated 07.
I was a president on the campus.
I'm so happy
I had hair too back
to hear you're in
When Bobby told me to come back as co-chair, I was like,
wish you all the best.
remember
All
everything
the
I did for you?
Everybody
And then I disappeared one night, so I finished my degree in the Virgin Islands.
We're saying we should get one picture all standing up.
And then went to New York from there, so I never, yeah, that's hilarious.
got through it.
Now you gotta
I'm on
find
the
me an
other
old
side
school
of it,
picture
so-
so I can like play I Spy. What school did you come from when you came here?
Oh my God, I like it too much. It's like a year and change. It doesn't seem that way consistently happening, but I've been living there for a year and change, and it's such amazing.
oh my god, yeah, take whatever you want. You're joking, of course.
I'm gonna hang this up right in my
Let me know if you
office.
ever want like roadie stuff, swag, some of your email me and I'll give it to you.
Okay, I got you. I mean, you got me.
Yes, I do. Yeah, definitely.
Nice guys, nothing back. Every job that I've had, because I've been surrounded with people, I've always felt like it was authentic. And
He's always trying to tell people how old I am. He's such a hater.
I appreciate that. So when I go into spaces,
I've known him since I was 5.